we go through. Okay, so first of all, my name's Vicky Jenkins. I'm a teacher. I was a class teacher in a school, and I now teach computing for Turn It On. I teach it to one school at the moment, but I often go out and do teaching throughout in different schools and also training for staff. So I'm going to share my screen with you now. Okay, so hopefully in a moment you should be able to see my screen. If you can't, please type now and let me know, because then I can sort it. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at Google Forms. They can be used for a huge variety of different things. So you can use them in class assessments or surveys for class. You can also use them for whole school questionnaires, but also things like external surveys, maybe to parents or the wider community. Before I go on to Google Forms, I'm just going to direct you to this website here, which is called teachfromanywhere.google. In fact, I'm going to put the web address here. Anywhere.google. It has got loads and loads of short tutorials. So if you have done the training, you've tried out doing forms, and then you've got a couple of questions, there are loads of little tutorials, and they're all sort of only a short amount of time. So they take sort of 10-15 minutes to do. So they are really quick, but they might just answer a question if you've forgotten something. Okay, so Google Forms. The first thing is you can type along the top forms.google to get there, but you can also use your 9 dots for the different apps down here. Okay, and Forms at the bottom there. If you want it higher up because you use it more frequently, you can drag and rearrange your things. Okay, and when you come into Forms, you will see recent forms you've created. And then there's some templates there, or a blank form. Okay, so I'm just going to go into a blank form to start off with, and I'm just going to go through the screen explaining what everything does, and then I'm going to go into more detail about your asking things on the form. So first of all, your title, obviously related to your form. That will appear up here as well, and that will be your save name. So it will keep saving all the way through. One of the great things about doing your work on Google is that it will save your work live. So as you're doing your work and making changes, it will just keep saving them for you, and it will save it into your Google Drive. Okay, so here's your questions down here. You can give it a description. When you come to your questions, you can choose from a large variety of types of question that you would like to ask. I will go through those in more detail in a little while. You can also duplicate your questions, delete them. If you're doing, you can also make them whether they're required. So that will then give you a little asterisk on it to show that that's something that is required. And then you can also change where you'd like them to go. So if you are doing sort of a question and answer, you might want them to move to a different part of the form depending on their answer. So for example, if your first question was, are either of your parents a key worker? If it says no, it might go to a section that says, right, unfortunately your child can't come into school. If you answered yes, it could then go on to when will your child be attending school. So you can change things based on your answer. You can also import questions, add titles and descriptions to your form, add images, videos, and also you can add separate sections. Okay, so they're just some of the things. I will go into a lot more detail of these bits in a moment. At the top here, we can customize the theme, so you can put an image on the header, or you can choose a stock image. You can also change the color of what your form looks like. and then again down here, and you can also change the font to whatever you like it to be. You also have a preview button here, so you can see what your form will look like while you're editing it, which is really good as a test if you're sending it particularly externally. Okay, and then up here we have got the settings. So if you were sending it in school, to your class or to your teachers, you would restrict your users to your domain, so that would be your school name. And you might choose to collect email addresses then as well, because you might need to know who's responded. And you might want to limit to one response, sorry. Okay, so the other thing there is if you are sending something externally, so you're sending something to parents, you might want to untick that box so that people outside of the school's logins can fill in your form. So if you're sending it away from the school, you need to untick this. We had a lot of schools sending things out to parents during lockdown that then the parents couldn't open because they weren't in there. Okay, presentation. So you can change how it will be how it will show to the person filling in the quiz. So you can put a progress bar, you can shuffle the question order, or show link to submit another response. And you can also put a message to say your response has been recorded or something similar. We also have quizzes here. So if we click tick to make this as a quiz, this is something that you'd be doing if it was in your class. You can then choose whether they immediately get a grade or not. And you can choose whether they get their points, whether there's missed questions, and whether they've got the correct answer. The great thing about this, if you're doing this in class, is you will see immediately it's live. So as children fill it in, you will get the responses. Okay, I'm going to go back into my forms home so that I can show you a couple that I did earlier so that I can sort of demonstrate that a little bit. So this is something I did with my school this week because I was being grabbed by different people saying minor issues in the school, but because so many people were having the same issue, it was much easier if we could get a list of names that all had each problem. So I asked them what their name was and just basic yes/no questions. Where it says other, it means they're able to fill in and they can do a short answer. So there we go. You can see as it looks like there. But the reason I wanted to show you this one was to show you the responses. Okay, so you can see each response like this as pie charts. You can also export your results to create a spreadsheet. Okay. And it will tell you everything about that person. And obviously, as more people filled it in, you would see more answers. So immediately, you've got your spreadsheet based on your form's answer. Obviously, this would also work if you're doing a quiz in class and you wanted to see a quick overview, but the pie chart might be enough for that sometimes. Okay, but you can also go across and you can see an individual person, how they've responded to the question, or you can go to each person and see exactly how they've answered on their response. So you've got a few different things you can see there. And then there's just a few options here. So you can get an email response notification for new responses. You can unlink form to stop it so that people can't access it after a while. And you can download all the responses onto a CSV, which is sort of Excel or spreadsheet, okay, or print them. Okay, just check nobody's asked anything. Okay, so I'm going to go back again to my demonstration, and we're going to go into my example quiz. Okay, so Each time you type a question, Google Forms is a smart form system. Every time you ask a question, it will determine what type of answer you need. Sometimes it gets it wrong and sometimes you do have to correct it, but it does to determine what it should be. So you may decide, so I've asked, describe the Gruffalo. Okay, and it's automatically asked for a paragraph here. Okay. It could have been a short answer if I'd only wanted a couple of words, but it's given me space for a paragraph. We also have short answer. So I've said, what is the shortest month of the year? And that should just be one word. So you see there's this difference with that. Then you have multiple choice answers. So when it's multiple choice, you can have it right or wrong, which is sort of for the quizzes and things like that. So I haven't set this to be a quiz, and I will show you a quiz in a little while of the right and wrong options. Okay, so again, if I'd added, if I'd put other, it gives the chance to type a type something as well. Okay, so the next one on my list that I've chosen is a file upload. So again, this is quite good if you are, if I just click away from it, you'll see what it looks like. If you wanted, so I've done draw a self-portrait and take a photo of it, and they can add a photo. So sometimes if you're sending work home, maybe that might be something you could get children to take a photo of. I know in one of my other trainings, somebody asked a question about homework, and she said, I do a lot of homework that's more creative. How do I get that handed in? Well, that is one way. You could have them take a photo in Google Forms. You could do the same in Google Classroom, but it depends what your survey is about. Okay, this one's checkboxes. So this one is our checkboxes. So here, I'll just click away from it so I can show you. You've got a choice. They can just tick. They can tick as many as they like. And then we've got scales. So how much do you like reading? So a linear scale, you can choose sort of 1, they love reading, 5, they really dislike reading. And then, okay, so then we've also got here, this one is, that's linear scale. This was the multiple choice grid. Okay, so on this, each answer, they have a choice they need to answer whether they love, so they rate it on what they like, but they can only put one per row, one answer per row. Okay, and then the last one I've got is a demonstration. I'll just show you what these all look like as well. Is a checkbox grid. So that's sort of a really good one for availability. Okay, so if I just show you the example, it's a bit easier to see then. So there's your add file, your tick boxes, linear scale, watching TV. So that's just an example of using all the different options available to you. Some of the other things you can do there, the other options we do have as well, which I didn't demonstrate, is you could ask a question where the answer, so instead we could say, when are you available for a meeting? And the person would actually have to fill in, if I come back down, they'd have to fill in a, they would click and it'd bring up a calendar, so they'd fill out a date. And the same goes, you can have the answer being the time as well. So again, it would be down to that person to fill out the, to click on the time, and it would allow them to put in a time. Okay, so that's the basics on what, I just need to go to a blank form now so I can show you. So that's the basics on the different types of questions you can ask. What I'm going to model now is just how to create this into a quiz where it's right or wrong. Just check no one's asked any questions. Do feel free to put any questions in the chat, and then I can come back and answer them as we go. Okay, so this time we are going to change this into a quiz. So we're going to choose up here with the settings. We're going to go up to the quiz, and we're going to say we want this to be a quiz. and save it. So let's call this Round the World. Okay, there we go. Capital city quiz. Ooh. And we're going to say, what is the capital city of England? Rome, Paris. And you'll see here it's already given us the corrected answer. Okay, and Edinburgh. Oh, I'm going to delete option 4. Okay, so we can also put here an answer key. So we can say if you get the correct answer, you get 2 points. Okay, it has already actually chosen the correct answer. But if it didn't, then you can add it in yourself as well. So the next one, I'm going to say Paris is the capital of which country? And I'm going to say Italy, Spain, okay, so I'm going to give it 2 points, and I'm going to click to explain which one is the correct answer. What I can do all this time, again, I can preview it, but I'm just going to show you. So if I tick one right and one wrong and submit it, I can view my score. So there we go. I've got 1 right and 1 wrong, and it has told me the correct answer. What you can also do with your answer key is you can add answer feedback. So you can write something that they receive as an incorrect answer if they get an incorrect answer, and you can add something if they get it correct. So it might be if they get something wrong, you might want to send them to either a YouTube video or a document to read that might explain something a bit better for them. So here you can send a web link or add a YouTube video. And you can do that for every question. And up here as the teacher, you can now view, so you can view, you've got an insight, missed questions, which ones are right, which ones are wrong. But you can also see an individual's answers as well. So you can play around, and again, you can export it into a spreadsheet. Okay, the other thing you can do is you can, down here, we've got a few other things. So you can copy your form if you want to. You can get a pre-filled link, so a link to the form. You can also add collaborators. So if you need to add somebody else to work on your form with you, you can add them up here. So that means if there's 2 of you working on it, particularly if you're sending something to parents, you might have 2 members of staff or SLT working on the form to make sure you both agree with it. And you can both edit at the same time live, so you can be both working on the same thing. Okay. When it comes to send, so you can automatically collect their email address. You can choose whether you send it via email, a link, or an embedded link. So there's a few different options there of how it goes out. Right. So where's my next thing? Okay, the next one I just want to go through is you do also have a template gallery. So there's quite a few templates here that you can use that will help you as well. So let's go into one. Oh, job application form. So straight away, it's just giving you a brief overview of what you might put in. Sorry, my mouse is going a bit jumpy. With that overview, you might then give a file upload and allow them to upload their job application. So actually, if you had a new position and you wanted to ask them a few basic questions and then ask them to upload a file, you can collect all of that data within a Google form. Just going through my sections, right, the last one, let me go back to one of my quizzes. There we go. Right, what you can also do, so once we get here, we can add a separate section. So we can you can break your form into different sections. So particularly if you were to select your quiz and to say, go to section based on answers. So if they got the question 1 right, you could send them to section 2. If they didn't get it right, you might send them to another question of a similar thing to answer. Okay. That is the main things covered of Google Forms. I think I've gone quite quickly, so please do ask questions if anyone's got anything they would like to ask, and I will see if I can help at all. They are quite, although there's a lot to do it, they are smart quizzes and they are designed to be really user friendly and quite initiative based. So as you get to use them more and more, you'll find them really helpful. I use them a lot as assessment at the beginning of a unit. So I might put it out to find out what the class knows before you even start the unit. And then I can do something similar at the end to see what they have learnt now we've got to the end of the unit. As well as I say, we did it for parents for key workers to find out when they were coming into schools as well. Okay, I'll hang around in case there's any more questions. Hold on, I'm happy to answer any questions, but otherwise, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.